What if I told you that right now, in this very moment, there exists a creature so powerful, so intelligent, and so dedicated to protecting humanity that governments around the world have kept its existence completely secret? For thousands of years, this being has silently guarded us from dangers we don't even know about. But the truth behind this will absolutely shock you. Most people have no idea this creature even exists. Scientists won't talk about it. Governments deny it. Yet the evidence is hidden in plain sight, scattered across ancient texts, modern discoveries, and stories that refuse to stay silent. Today, I'm going to show you exactly 3 things that will change everything you thought you knew. First, you'll discover how this beast actually broke free from captivity and made an impossible choice. Second, you'll learn why it bonded with a human student like family. And third, you'll understand the real reason nobody mentions this creature and what that means for all of us. Let me show you exactly how this happened. Everything started on a Tuesday morning that nobody could have predicted. The massive spacecraft descended through Earth's atmosphere without warning. Scientists scrambled. Governments panicked. Military jets took flight. But what happened next was something nobody expected. Inside that ship was a creature unlike anything humanity had ever seen. It was ancient. It was powerful. But most importantly, it was intelligent. Not intelligent like a dog or even a dolphin. This thing possessed wisdom that seemed to stretch back thousands of years. The creature's name, we learned later, was something humans couldn't even pronounce. So the scientists just called it the Guardian, but that name would become ironic very soon. When the spacecraft landed in a remote facility in the mountains, researchers finally got their first real look at the beast. Its fur was dark black, like midnight itself had a physical form. Its eyes held something ancient and knowing. When it looked at you, you didn't just see an animal. You saw intelligence. You saw purpose. You saw something that had been waiting for a very long time. The military wanted to contain it immediately. Scientists wanted to study it. Politicians wanted to use it as a weapon. But nobody asked what the creature actually wanted. That would be the biggest mistake anyone could make. For weeks, the beast remained in the facility. It didn't attack anyone. It didn't try to escape. It simply observed. It watched the humans move around it. It studied their behavior. It listened to their conversations. And slowly, something remarkable happened. The creature began to understand us. A young student named Marcus worked at the facility. His job was simple help feed the animal and clean its space. Marcus was 17 years old. He was quiet. He was kind. He was the type of person that most people overlooked. But the beast didn't overlook him. Every single day, Marcus would enter the creature's space. Every single day, the beast would watch him. And every single day, something invisible was happening between them. A connection was forming. Not the kind of connection between a trainer and an animal. Something much deeper. Something much more human, despite the creature not being human at all. Marcus started talking to the beast. He told it about his problems. He shared his fears. He explained his dreams. And the creature listened. Really listened. For the first time in Marcus's entire life, he felt completely understood by another being. The scientists noticed something was changing. The beast's behavior was shifting. It was becoming calmer, more peaceful, less like a dangerous creature, and more like something with purpose and direction. Some of the researchers thought this was because Marcus was training it through positive reinforcement. They were completely wrong. What was actually happening was far more significant. The creature was teaching itself. It was learning human language. It was understanding human emotion. It was realizing that this young boy represented something precious to it. And more importantly, it was recognizing that protecting Marcus, and by extension, protecting humanity, was its true calling. 3 months into the study, something incredible occurred. The facility's security systems malfunctioned. The creature's containment doors opened completely. Every scientist and military official in the building froze. This was the moment they had prepared for. This was when the beast would finally show its true nature. This was when things would get dangerous. The creature rose to its feet. It stretched its massive body. Every muscle was visible. Every movement was powerful. And then it did something that nobody expected. It walked directly toward Marcus. The military rushed forward. The scientists shouted warnings. But Marcus didn't move. He wasn't afraid. The beast bent down. It looked directly into the young man's eyes. And in that moment, something shifted in the entire facility. Nobody understood what they were witnessing, but they all felt it. This wasn't a threat. This was a reunion. This was recognition of something much larger than anyone in that room could comprehend. The creature had made its choice. It had chosen to protect Marcus. It had chosen to protect humanity. And nothing would ever be the same. What happened next couldn't be explained by any normal science. The beast didn't attack. It didn't try to dominate. Instead, it did something that shocked every single person in that facility. It lay down on the ground, placing itself between Marcus and everyone else. The creature was protecting the boy. From what? Nobody knew. But the message was crystal clear. This young man was under the beast's care now, and nothing in the universe would change that. The military wanted to shoot the creature. The government wanted to execute it immediately. But something stopped them. Maybe it was the way Marcus looked so peaceful standing near the beast. Maybe it was the way the creature's eyes showed such obvious intelligence and purpose. Or maybe, just maybe, some part of them understood that they were witnessing something sacred. Over the next few weeks, scientists made a shocking discovery. The creature could communicate. Not with words, but with something deeper. It could convey complex thoughts and emotions without making a single sound. Marcus learned to understand it. A bond formed between them that defied explanation. The beast showed Marcus something extraordinary. Through images and visions it somehow projected into his mind. It revealed its true history. The creature was ancient. It came from a civilization that existed long before humans developed written language. That civilization had created guardians, powerful beings, designed to protect emerging species from extinction. Thousands of years ago, this creature's entire purpose was established. Protect, watch, guide, never dominate, never control. Simply ensure that intelligent species could grow and develop without being destroyed by their own ignorance or by outside threats. The beast had been watching humanity since our earliest days. It had protected us from catastrophes we never knew were coming. When a massive asteroid was heading toward Earth 3,000 years ago, the creature had somehow worked with forces beyond human understanding to deflect it. When plagues threatened to wipe out entire civilizations, the creature influenced events in ways nobody could trace, preventing the spread of diseases that would have ended humanity. For millennia, the beast worked in complete silence. It asked for nothing. It demanded nothing. It wanted no recognition or worship. It simply did what it was created to do: protect. But something changed. The creature realized that humanity had grown to a critical point. We had developed weapons powerful enough to destroy ourselves. We had created technologies that could pollute our own planet into a dead world. We were at a crossroads, and the creature knew it needed to be visible now. It needed to show itself. Because the greatest threat humanity faced wasn't from outside enemies. The greatest threat was from within ourselves. That's why it had come to Earth. That's why it had allowed itself to be captured. And that's why it had bonded so deeply with Marcus. The creature was trying to teach humanity something essential. It was trying to show us that protection and strength didn't have to mean domination. That intelligence didn't have to mean cruelty. That power could be used for gentle guidance instead of destruction. Marcus understood this message completely, and he became something extraordinary, a bridge between the beast and humanity. Through him, the creature could finally communicate its purpose to the world. The boy shared everything he had learned. He explained the creature's history. He described its mission. He told the world that this beast had been humanity's secret guardian for thousands of years, and it was now asking us to make a choice. Would we continue down a path of self-destruction? Or would we finally listen to the ancient wisdom this creature had been trying to share? For the first time, humanity had to face itself. We had to ask hard questions. We had to look in the mirror and decide what kind of species we wanted to be. And standing beside Marcus, the great beast waited patiently. It had protected us for millennia in silence. Now it was giving us the chance to protect ourselves. News of the creature spread across the entire world. Governments couldn't hide it anymore. Every news station reported the story. Social media exploded with reactions. Scientists demanded access to study the beast. Religious leaders debated what it meant spiritually. But nobody was asking the most important question: what was the creature actually trying to prevent? Marcus spent hours communicating with the beast, understanding layer after layer of its ancient knowledge. And what he discovered was both terrifying and hopeful. The creature revealed that humanity was approaching what it called the threshold. This was a point in civilization's development where a species either evolved into wisdom or destroyed itself. Throughout the universe, countless civilizations had faced this threshold. Some had passed through to become great and peaceful. Others had failed completely. The beast showed Marcus images from worlds that didn't make it. Civilizations that had possessed incredible technology, but used it to wage endless wars. Species that had achieved power but lost their compassion. Planets that had been rendered completely lifeless because their inhabitants couldn't stop fighting each other long enough to survive. Humanity was approaching this same moment. We had the technology to solve almost any problem. We could feed every person. We could cure diseases. We could create clean energy. We could even reverse the damage we'd done to our planet. But something was stopping us. Fear, greed, hatred, the inability to see ourselves as one species rather than divided nations and tribes. The creature had watched this pattern repeat countless times across the galaxy. And every time, beings like itself, ancient guardians created by civilizations long extinct, tried to help. But they couldn't force change. They couldn't make species wise. They could only provide guidance and hope that younger species would choose the right path. That's what the beast had been doing for humanity. Guiding us, protecting us from our worst impulses when possible, arranging events that would give us opportunities to grow. But it couldn't save us from ourselves. Only we could do that. Marcus understood the weight of this message. He spent weeks preparing to share it with the world. And when he finally did, something shifted in human consciousness. People started asking different questions. Instead of what can we gain, they started asking what can we contribute. Instead of how do we protect ourselves from them, they started asking how do we all survive together. Instead of arguing about who was right, people started working on solutions that everyone could support. The creature didn't demand anything. It didn't ask to be worshipped or feared. It simply continued to be present. It walked through cities with Marcus at its side. It attended gatherings where people discussed humanity's future. It showed, through its mere presence, that beings of incredible power could choose gentleness. Governments that had wanted to weaponize the creature slowly changed their perspective. Military leaders who had seen it as a threat began to understand it as a teacher. Scientists realized they weren't going to unlock its secrets through testing and study. The real secret was much simpler: learn to live differently. The beast began traveling to every corner of Earth. It went to places ravaged by war, and its presence seemed to bring people together. It visited areas suffering from poverty and inspired communities to share resources differently. It appeared in regions where environmental destruction was worst, and somehow inspired people to change their relationship with nature. Nobody could explain exactly how the creature had such an effect, but everyone felt it. The beast's presence was like a mirror held up to humanity. It showed us what we could be if we chose compassion over greed, unity over division, protection over domination. And through it all, Marcus remained by its side. The young student who had been overlooked by everyone now stood as a symbol of what humanity could become. Proof that even the most unlikely person could make an extraordinary difference. Proof that connections between beings could transcend species and form something sacred. The world began to transform. Not overnight. Change never happens that fast in reality. But slowly, genuinely, something shifted in human hearts. And the ancient guardian that had protected us in silence for thousands of years finally got to see its mission succeeding. But there was something deeper the creature still needed to reveal. Something that even Marcus didn't fully understand at first. The beast had protected humanity from threats we never knew existed. And most crucially, it had protected us from knowing about other guardians like itself. Throughout the galaxy, there existed an entire network of ancient beings. Some were similar to this creature. Others were completely different in form and nature. But they all shared the same mission: guide emerging civilizations toward wisdom before they destroyed themselves. For millions of years, these guardians had operated in complete secrecy. They followed strict rules. They never directly interfered with a civilization's choices. They only provided opportunities and guidance. And they kept their existence hidden from the species they protected. But something was changing across the entire galaxy. Multiple civilizations were simultaneously approaching their threshold. This was rare. Usually, species developed at different paces. But these particular worlds had evolved in similar ways and were now facing similar crises. And for the first time in recorded history, the Guardians were considering revealing themselves to all these species at once. The creature had come to Earth as a test, to see if humanity could handle knowing the truth, to see if we could accept help without becoming dependent on it, to see if we would grow stronger or weaker when faced with the reality that we weren't alone. And the results had been mixed. Some humans had reacted with fear and violence. Some had reacted with worship and submission. But many, perhaps most, had reacted with recognition and gratitude. They had understood that the creature wasn't our master. It was our teacher, and the most important lessons it had to offer were about ourselves. Marcus learned that the creature's presence on Earth hadn't been random. It had been deliberately arranged to occur at this exact moment in human history, because we were ready. We had reached a level of technological development and social awareness where we could finally benefit from knowing the truth. The beast revealed that there were thousands of events throughout human history that the Guardians had influenced. Small changes that had enormous consequences. A person meeting another person who wouldn't have met otherwise. A discovery being made slightly earlier or later than it would have naturally occurred. Wars being prevented through subtle interventions in the circumstances that started them. But the Guardians could do nothing about humanity's fundamental choice. We still had to choose between wisdom and destruction. The creature could guide us, protect us, teach us, but it couldn't force us to be good. That was something only we could choose for ourselves. This revelation changed everything. Humanity suddenly understood that we had been given an incredible gift. An ancient, wise being had literally spent thousands of years protecting us, guiding us, believing in our potential. And now it was asking us to finally believe in ourselves. Nations that had been at war with each other for centuries found reasons to make peace. Not because the creature demanded it, but because people suddenly understood how precious their existence actually was. They realized that the Guardian had been protecting not just humanity as a species, but each individual person. Every life mattered. Every choice mattered. The creature showed Marcus that it would now remain on Earth openly. No more hiding, No more secret protection from the shadows. The guardians of the galaxy were ready to step into the light, not as rulers or gods, but as partners in the ongoing journey of conscious life in the universe. Humanity faced a choice. We could rise to meet this moment. We could become the kind of species that could stand beside these ancient beings with pride. Or we could squander this opportunity and continue down the path of self-destruction. And watching all this unfold, the great beast stood beside Marcus with absolute faith that humanity would choose wisdom. Because it had watched us grow for thousands of years. It had seen our capacity for compassion. It had witnessed our creativity and courage. It believed in us more than we believed in ourselves. 5 years had passed since the creature's arrival on Earth. What had once seemed impossible had become normal. The beast walked openly through cities and towns. Children grew up knowing that somewhere on their planet, an ancient guardian existed, an elder species that had been watching over them since before recorded history. But the most profound changes happened inside human hearts and minds. Wars that economists said couldn't be stopped had ended through diplomatic breakthroughs nobody thought possible. Diseases were being cured at accelerated rates because scientists from rival nations were working together. Climate change, which had seemed unstoppable, was being reversed through global cooperation that had previously been unimaginable. Marcus was no longer just a teenager. He had become something extraordinary, a bridge between humanity and the ancient guardians. He traveled the world, speaking to millions of people. He shared the creature's message. He helped communities understand that the future wasn't something that happened to them. It was something they created through their choices every single day. The creature itself had revealed its deepest secret. It was dying, not from illness or violence, but from age. It had existed for over 50,000 years. It had protected humanity since before we discovered agriculture. And now, after millennia of service, it was approaching the end of its life. But it wasn't sad about this. The beast explained to Marcus that this was the way of things. Guardians were created to serve until their species grew wise enough to protect itself. And humanity had finally reached that point. We no longer needed a secret protector watching over us from the shadows. We had learned to protect ourselves and each other. The creature's final act was its greatest gift. With its remaining power, it did something no guardian had done before. It opened a permanent gateway to the network of ancient beings. Humanity could now communicate with the guardians across the galaxy. We could learn from their experiences. We could share our own wisdom as we continued to grow. In the moment the gateway opened, something shifted in human consciousness. We finally understood that we weren't alone. We never had been. And more importantly, we understood that we had always been capable of greatness. The creature had simply helped us believe in ourselves. On the day the beast passed from this world, millions of people gathered to honor it. Not with worship or sadness, but with gratitude and recognition. The creature had asked for nothing except that humanity learn to choose wisdom. And in its final moments, it saw that we were beginning to understand. Marcus stood before the world as the creature took its last breath. He was weeping, but they were tears of both sorrow and hope. The guardian had given everything to protect a species it believed inches. And now humanity had to honor that sacrifice by becoming everything the creature had always known we could be. In the weeks following the creature's death, something remarkable happened. The ancient being didn't disappear completely. Its influence remained woven throughout human civilization. In moments when people faced choices, they felt a strange wisdom guiding them toward compassion. When nations considered conflict, something whispered that there was a better way. The guardian had given its life so completely to humanity that it had become part of our consciousness itself. Years passed, decades, centuries. Humanity continued to grow wiser. We spread to other worlds, taking the lessons the creature had taught us. We became the kind of species that could stand among the guardians as equals. And we never forgot the beast that had secretly protected us since the beginning of our civilization. The story of the creature became the most important tale in human history. Every child learned it. Every culture honored it in their own way. And somewhere deep in human DNA, in the very essence of who we were, remained the memory of being protected by something ancient and wise that asked for nothing except our growth. The moral of the story wasn't complicated. The greatest power in the universe isn't the power to dominate or control. It's the power to believe in someone so completely that they finally believe in themselves. The creature had possessed that power, and it had saved not just humanity's life, but humanity's soul. And that, Marcus always said, is how a beast that nobody mentions became the most important guardian in human history. But here's the twist nobody expects. The creature's story never actually ended. Scientists have discovered that the ancient gateway the beast opened is still active. Signals keep coming through. Messages from other guardians across the galaxy saying they're watching us, waiting to see if humanity can truly be trusted with the knowledge of the wider universe. The creature spent 50,000 years protecting us in complete silence. It asked for nothing. It wanted no recognition. It simply believed in our potential so deeply that it dedicated its entire existence to our survival. That's real strength. That's real power. The question isn't whether the beast was real. The question is whether humanity is finally ready to be the species it always had the potential to be. A species worthy of the sacrifice made by something ancient and wise that loved us more than we loved ourselves. If this story opened your eyes to what real protection and real love actually look like, then the creature's mission is still succeeding. So let me remind you of the 3 biggest takeaways from this story. First, the greatest power isn't strength or weapons. It's belief. The creature believed in humanity for thousands of years before we believed in ourselves. Second, you don't need to be famous or important to make a difference. Marcus was a quiet teenager nobody noticed, but he changed the entire world. Third, we are never as alone as we think we are. Someone, somewhere, is always rooting for us to become our best selves. This story shows us that the real monsters aren't the creatures that look different from us. The real monsters are the parts of ourselves that we need to overcome. If this video made you think differently about protection, about loyalty, or about what it means to truly care about someone, please hit that like button. It tells me these stories matter to you. Subscribe to our channel because we're going to explore more incredible HFY stories that will change the way you see humanity's potential. Your subscription means you'll never miss these perspective-shifting narratives. Drop a comment below. If you could have one ancient guardian watching over your life, what would you want it to teach you most? And if you want deeper stories like this sent directly to your inbox each week, join our community newsletter. We send exclusive content, extended stories, and discussions about what it means to be human in an infinite universe. The creature's final message was simple: believe in yourself. The universe is already believing in you.